Oh, these guys are pretty cute. Enemies are a staple of every shooter game, and since I am making one, it's about time I design some. So here is my process of creating these atrocities. Let's start with a basic projectile enemy, because I only have footage for this game. Since this is a retro shooter game with a dark horror theme, I came up with an idea for it to be a giant eyeball that throws smaller eyeballs at you. I use a reference image to model the arms. The most important are proportions, the mesh can be scaled down or up later. This is a forest enemy, so to make it match that theme, I gave it some antlers, cause why not? Next, I thought it would be cool to include an optical nerve, the thingy that connects eyes to the brain. This image contains fake eyes, by the way, don't be scared. To make the arms bend properly, I looked up some tutorial on how to make a good topology. I'm not sure I understand it though. Looks good enough. Set up armature, add some bone die case, bone colors, shapes, to make animating much easier. I also looked up some info about the bone roll, or in other words, bone rotation. For some reason, I can't wrap my head around rotations. Whether it's quaternions, Euler, my brain just says no thank you. I've made it so that each bone in a chain has the same roll as the previous bone, and that's all I'm gonna talk about bone rotations. And now, for the most important part of making a retro model. Textures. I found an eye image to use for painting the eye pupil, then I used a vein mask texture to paint some details, play with different colors. I like to make all corners and areas that bend a darker shade, and boom! It's done! Right now, I am making projectile throw animation. I wanted this enemy to grab an eyeball from its own body and then charge it at the player. So first make key poses, then use constant interpolation. When viewing an animation in this state, you should know what it's about. Then add some details here and there, and a high quality animation is done.
I mean, it's alright.
And here it is in action. When idle, the enemy does nothing, it just stares blindly into the void. If, however, by any chance, it spots a player, it will run closer, within projectile range, perform an attack montage, spawn a projectile, and repeat. If close enough, it will do a melee attack. When attacking, it will rotate to face whatever it's attacking, and when we reach this wind-up pose, I clear focus, so that it will stop rotating. This way, players can have some time to dodge. And then, it happened. The sudden realization that it will take me months, maybe even years, to finish this game. I mean, there is so much work to be done.
No.
And most of my time I spent playing video games rather than making them. But then, another realization. When you do squats and feel like you can't lift the weight because it's too heavy and your legs are giving up, just stand up. I mean, it's that easy. So I did. I got back to work. For the melee enemy, I had this idea. Human head with branch-like appendages. So I made this.
What the hell?
The lore behind it is that this creature lures people with its head, because you see it in the forest and go, is that a random human head in the forest? Let me walk up to it and say hi. And then it impales you with its sting, sucking your fat off. Let me just make it blend better with the trees. There you go. There's some pixel density issue. Enemies and the environment have different sized pixels. For now, let's just forget about it. Last enemy for the first level that I wanted was some small rodent. So I made this side bag. Why does it look like a piece of shit? I wanted it to walk up to the player, lunge at the player,
Hey yo, what the?
and then leech off of the player, kinda like a head crab. In order to do that, I had to redesign my entire base enemy class, because it was a giant mess before. The cool thing now is that every enemy is capable of doing a lunge attack. I just have to set it up. Since it's a first-person game, and there are no arms, no legs, no torso, no head, I settled on sticking the back to the middle of the player's collider when it lunges. This way it can be easily shot or slapped off. That pretty much sums up the enemy update. In my free time, I've studied color theory, and by that I mean watching YouTube videos on the topic, and I learned absolutely nothing. So I have played with some LUTs to find a look that I like, but apparently you shouldn't use LUTs in video games. You should use them only for cinematics or videos, because some monitors can display them differently, and I want to have consistent look across all the screens. So instead, I did some color grading until I found a look that I like, which is just slightly more dark and more contrasty look. I wanted to isolate color red so that everything is more black and white or less saturated, to make that red pop, because blood is red, but that turned out to be much harder than I initially thought, and I couldn't find anything on how to do that with post-processing. But alas, an idea. Let's change saturation on all textures. This way I have more control over saturation of all blood effects. I also made some 3D models for pickups. We have small pistol ammo, a bunch of bullets, medium pistol ammo, bullets and a magazine, and a large pistol ammo, an ammo box. Small health is a bloody bandage, medium health is a potion vial, and a large health is a surgical kit. It looks a bit too boxy for my taste, so let's just forget about it. Finally, we can move on to improving this section of the map. Change the textures for better looking ones, add some large props, add some smaller props. These are all destructible and can drop random pickups, at least not yet. Add some torches, make it darker. Every material uses this one scalar parameter to drive emissive, except the sky apparently. So when you enter a collision shade, it will change this scalar at runtime, at least not yet. And lastly, let's add some posterize effect. I'm not sure if I'll keep it, but 80% sure I will. Wait, I have to do this for this entire section? What the f? Looking back, it took me 35 days to make all this new stuff, which is incredibly long. If I were to stop procrastinating with games and YouTube shorts, I would be miles ahead. But hey, at least I didn't experience burnout. Anyways, I want to take my time and say thank you to all the people who watched this video, and most importantly, to all the people who left very wholesome comments on my previous one. It means a lot to me. Okay, enough of this soy stuff. Here is a black screen.